सबसे पहले तो आप सब लोगों का बहुत शुक्रिया हम लोगों को ज्वाइन करने के लिए। आई एम मोहम्मद ईशान शब्बीर फ्रॉम माइंडसेट डेवलपमेंट फाउंडेशन एंड आई होप के सीवी राइटिंग का आप सब लोगों को आइडिया होगा। मगर हम लोगों ने सेशन सर इसलिए करवाया कि बहुत ज़्यादा बच्चे डिमांड कर रहे थे कि दे आर नाउ मूविंग टुवर्ड्स द प्रोफेशनल लाइफ। तो सर सीवी एक बहुत ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है प्रोफेशनल लाइफ का। तो सर ओवर टू यू। आई होप कि इंशाल्लाह हमारा एक्सपीरियंस अच्छा रहेगा।
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Don't disturb me now. I'm going to stop. Thank you very much for even giving me this opportunity to talk to you from this platform. Let's start. I have a brief presentation about it. I would be sharing that as well as I'll be explaining it. Let me share my screen with you from here. Is my screen visible to you? Written effective CVs and covering letters. I would ask Zishan, Mohammed Zishan, to unmute. Okay. It's visible. So when we talk about CV writing, covering letter comes afterwards. When we say CV, the full form for this word, most of the students would be aware of this term. It is curriculum vitae. Along with it, there is another term used for the same thing that is called resume. Most people in Pakistan may pronounce it resume. That is a wrong pronunciation. It must be called resume. Both are almost used interchangeably. They almost are taken in the same manner. There is a slight difference between both of them. When we say resume, it is most probably shorter version of your academic background, your work experience when you are applying for a job. Resume happens to be of at least 1 page or maximum 2 pages, whereas CVs, in comparison to resumes, can be longer than 2 pages. They can be a minimum 2 pages and then they can go on further more than 2 pages. So this is a brief difference. There's a slight difference between the two terms. Baba, don't disturb me, please go away. So when this term, when I was young, when I was about to graduate in a master class, I had heard this term for the very first time. I wasn't aware of anything called CV. I hope these days students are very much aware of these things. They must have a little bit of background knowledge what CV is. CV is basically a kind of detailed, not very much detailed, but a precise version of your academic qualifications, your work experience, your interests, which you design, which you write on a piece of paper, and you present those papers or send those papers in the form of an application to your employers where you like to get a job, where you want to seek a position in any organization. It can be of any kind. Most of the time, different organizations put their advertisements on newspapers, on internet, or there are different sources where you can find those job opportunities. Most of the time, uh, so they say they want you to send your brief resumes or your CVs. It helps them to shortlist candidates on the basis of their qualification and work experience, and they shortlist the number of candidates. What happens initially, maybe a large number of candidates apply for the job, but in today's world, unemployment is on the rise. There is a large number of unemployed candidates who are seeking for the job, or sometimes it happens that you are already in a job but you want to move further in your career. So these CVs provide your potential employers an insight into your background, academic qualifications, experiences, They simply, according to their requirements, shortlist the number of candidates, and then the shortlisted candidates are called for an interview. So these CVs, these resumes, they are kind of representing you before you yourself go there and say something or take an interview. These are the documents, these are the papers which are there representing you. So they must be very effectively designed, they must be very properly designed uh, in order to help you gain that opportunity, in order to provide you an opportunity to present over there in person. If you lose, Baba, please, no. If you lose an opportunity for an interview, maybe you are much more better candidate than others. But if your CV is unable to help you reach there, it means your CV wasn't as effective as you wanted it to be. So let's talk about how the CV is designed. What are the parts which are the core parts of a CV? There are certain optional parts as well. Sometimes they are required by the employers, by the organizations. Sometimes they are not. But the core parts must be there, whatever your CVs are going to be. Simply, when we say what is the purpose of a CV, whenever we talk about, first of all, those who may not be aware of this term CV, this question may arise in their mind. What is the purpose of a CV? Although I have discussed in my introduction, let's simple and brief. The purpose of a CV is to inform the employer where you want to get a job, maybe an organization, maybe an academic or educational institution, or any kind of company or organization. Your CVs are to inform the employer about your education, your work experience, what skills you have got, and your interests. Sometimes you have education in a particular field, you have experience in that particular field, but your interests may be a little bit different from those things, and so these things are supposed to be in the knowledge of your potential employer. So this is the purpose of a CV. They are going to introduce you, your academic qualifications, your work experience, what set of skills you have got. They are to take these things to an employer. And the CVs, the purpose of CVs is to sell your qualities, these qualities, whatever qualities you have got, whatever academic qualifications you have got, whatever work experience you have got. You are supposed to sell these qualities, because this is a kind of corporate world where only the best people, best candidates, suitable workers are hired. So these CVs are a source to showcase your academic qualifications. Excuse me, I believe someone is okay. So where I was here. These CVs are there to sell your qualities and to persuade the employer to invite you to interview. It is your CVs, if they are appropriately designed, if they are effectively designed, they are supposed to have the power to persuade, to convince the employer to call this person for an interview. If your CV is not uh, designed in a particular way, in an appropriate way, you may lose a chance for a personal interview. Okay. Okay. In what conditions, at what time we are supposed to use the CVs? One condition is when an employer or an organization asks you to apply for a job, for an opportunity that has been created, that has been advertised there. And they sometimes, some organizations want you to present your CV in a certain format. Some organizations do not ask for a particular format, but some organization may provide a format for the potential candidates so that they can design their CVs according to that format. When you are asked to submit, asked to send a CV, in that condition you are supposed to send, or sometimes when an employer states apply to without specifying the format. Sometimes, as I told you in the beginning, that sometimes the specified format is not given in what format you are supposed to provide a CV. Then there is a general format of the CV that you are supposed to follow. In that condition, you send a CV. And the third condition, when making speculative applications. What are speculative applications? Sometimes you have graduated or you have experience in a certain field, you wish to get a position in another organization, but you don't know whether there is a position vacant over there or not. What do? You design your CV, you write a covering letter, and you send that letter over there in order that whenever a job opportunity is created in that organization, they may consider you. Here, this is a condition where you don't know whether there is a job opportunity over there or not. You are on the basis of your speculation, on the basis of your guess, you are sending an application hoping that whenever a job opportunity is created there, they might consider you. So in these three different conditions, you send your CV, you use your CV in order to represent you in front of the employers. Matching up your CV with the position company. Before I move on to this slide, I must tell you what has been the trend here in Pakistan. We design a CV, we write a CV, and we get at least a dozen of its photocopies. And wherever a job opening is there, we send the same CV to different organizations, the same format, same thing. Here, in this slide, we are going to discuss that each CV or each position or job that has been advertised, you have to design a CV according to the requirements of that job. You're not supposed to just design a CV and get a dozen photocopies of that CV and send wherever you like. You have to see what are the requirements, whether those qualifications, whether those set of skills you have got, then you have to showcase those skills, those qualifications, and match your skills, match your qualifications with the required job opening, and then send that CV. Without matching, see, this is a size that doesn't fit to everyone. So our CV must not be like this. We design a CV and send it to everywhere. No, it is not one size that fits all. Your CV should not be one kind that should fit all the job openings. You need to tailor your CVs to each position you apply for. Whenever a job opening is advertised on internet or in the newspapers, they definitely, major organizations, give the details of requirements, what what academic qualifications the candidates must have, what experience they have. So these things you have to go through uh, very meticulously, very carefully to this section, and then you have to design your CV according to those requirements. Research the company before you design your CV. You need to research the company. You must have background knowledge of that organization to which you are applying. Do they have a mission statement or core values? What will they be looking for in you? Who works there at the moment? What are they passionate about? These are the things which help you design your CV according to their requirements, according to their standards, according to their interests. If your skills, if your academic qualifications, if your uh, experience is going to match their requirements, it is only then they would consider you. If not, they would definitely not, they are not going to call you for an interview. Okay, you have to prove your ability. How? There are four main things employers will look at in CV. These are the four core parts or sections of a CV. These must be there. Apart from these, there are some general or some optional parts of a CV. Sometimes some organizations want them, some organizations do not want. Education. In a CV, your education, the details of your education must be discussed. Ability to think clearly, analyze and assess information, draw conclusions, work independently or research, whatever education you have got, whether that education has given you these qualities. Can you think clearly? Are you able to analyze and assess different information? Because there are different job positions. Sometimes you are required to simply think and then pass on your ideas. But some job openings or job positions want you to analyze and assess information and then represent it. Sometimes you have to draw conclusions. Your education, what you have done in your education, teaches you how to draw conclusions from a certain information. And then whether you are able to work independently. Sometimes in your academic or your at your school, at your university, at your college, you might have been part of different projects. You might have worked independently. You might have worked in groups or independent. So you have to indicate all those things. How much research you have done in your education. So these things must be there. Work experience. Although most probably many of you would be fresh graduates, you may not have work experience. It is my guess. But if you have any work experience, maybe you have done something part-time. If you do not have work experience, you might have done something voluntarily. If you have some volunteer work experience, you can also present in your CV, because at this stage you must be looking for entry level job openings. So there sometimes the work experience is not required, but even if you have no paid work experience, you can add some volunteer work experience in your CV in this section. So what should be there? Ability to get on with people. When you work, excuse me, when you work in an organization, that organization comprises of people. Whether you are good at working with people, you have friendly relations with your colleagues, this is indicated by your work experience. How long you stayed with an organization, whether you got promotions over there, whether you got some appreciation certificates over there, whatsoever. Your work experience also indicates whether you work under pressure. Sometimes some due dates, sometimes some targets are to be achieved in a certain period of time. That your work experience indicates whether you are able to do all these things, meet deadlines, whether you are able to meet deadlines. These things must be there. Your interests, leisure interests, what you do in your free time, because your mental approach, your personality is developed and refreshed by these interests. When you are free, you are away from your workplace, you need some relaxation, you need some refreshment. So certainly the mental refreshness. So ability to plan and organize, whether you plan for certain recreational activities, you go for certain recreational activities or not, you cooperate with others or not, you compete, you lead, you work hard to achieve results. These things indicate how good you are at doing things, whether you can plan and then act upon those plannings, whether you are able to lead other people to get certain results, or you are a good team player, So these interests also indicate to your potential employers what you are able to do. And the fourth thing, that is the core thing in a CV, that is specific skills. These must be relevant to the position that you are applying for. Means whether sometimes some driving opportunities, drivers are also required for different organizations, or not only exactly the drivers, but sometimes the organization provides you with vehicles and you must be able to drive them. Whether you have driving license, this skill is considered to be one of sometimes, not in all job positions, this driving license is not required. Computer skills, this can be very basic skill. Most of the time things are being done on PCs these days, laptops. Foreign languages, this is also a skill. Even being in the same country, like if we take the example of Pakistan, we have many regional languages here. If you can speak more than one languages, it means you are better than those candidates who can speak only one language. If your job requires you to go and meet people, like marketing jobs, when you go out in the field and talk to people, sell things, or motivate people about things. So if you are aware of more languages, it means again this is an advantageous, a beneficial skill. Artistic skills, there can be different artistic skills. Sometimes they are required for a position, sometimes they are not. Some people may be good at singing, some may be good at dancing, some may be good at drawing things, or many other things, music. So these artistic skills, sometimes they are considered to be very much required for a position, but sometimes they are not. So these are the basic core things which must be the part of your CV. CV types. In certain CVs, your academic qualifications, your work experience that you provide them in chronological order. Those are considered to be chronological CV types. Like if you are giving a heading like employment, when you are going to present your work experience, you provide it in a chronological order. You sometimes it is mostly it is in the reverse order, because you start from the current job that you are doing and you go back to the jobs you did in the past. It tells most of the time the more detail of the current job is given. The previous jobs, the details about the previous jobs is not given that much, because your employer must know what you are doing at present. So this is a kind of employment. Here you can see, okay, so here you can see April, December 2011, and a job that was done before that from 2009 to 2010. And then if there was another job before that, it must be indicated or written before that. And other type of CV is skill based, in which you present or you put your skills in the details, so that if the employer is looking for or focusing on skills, he must look at them. Attention to details, computer skills, customer services. This is the skills. Attention to details, like as in editing assistant at Venture may be the name of an organization. I needed to prove that I could spot any mistakes or flaws in the photographs, as well as this is something in detail. So your skills you are presenting, like attention to details, means you are good at paying or focusing attention to details, like in photographs. If you have computer skills, you indicate about those skills. If you are good at customer service, you talk about those customer skills. We'll move on a little faster. Then another part of the CV which talks about personal details. These all things were related to your skills, academic qualification, interest. This part must be there. Means normally these things are supposed to be the heading of your curriculum vitae, your CV. your name should be on the top of the page as a heading rather than CV. You are not supposed to write on the top of the page that CV or curriculum vitae. Rather than you are supposed to write your name in bold font, whatever your name is. Then maybe website or online portfolio if you have, if you use a website, if you have an online portfolio, you provide the link of that online portfolio. If it is not there, it's not necessary. Your address, your home address, as well as your email address, that is also coming later on, your telephone number, your email address, these things are supposed to be provided at the top or at the beginning, or that is called the heading of the CV, so that the first thing that is seen by the employer, he must or she must know that who the person is and what are the contact details, how that person can be contacted, whether his home address, by his home address, or by his telephone, or by his email address. And about email address, make sure this is a professional email, not some people may use more than one email. So it must be your professional email, and it must be with your name or something very serious looking thing, not something. And then the following are requirements, but if you wish, you can include the basic requirements are name, website address, telephone number, and email address. These things not necessary, but they can be included, like nationality, gender, and date of birth. Sometimes when the in the requirements there is a age limit also given, that the people of a certain or this age are supposed to apply for the job, then you must provide your date of birth indicating that you fall in that category of the age. In education and qualification, although we discussed about it here, start with the most recent. Whenever you are talking about your education, education is an other section in CV, and qualification, academic qualification, is an other part. After heading comes education, then comes sorry, education and qualification is the same thing. I was taking it as a work experience. So here again, you have to start with the most recent, what you have done recently, whether you have done your master's recently or your PhD recently, the last degree, the last diploma, the last course that you have done, you are supposed to provide that in the beginning. Don't forget your current study. If you are studying, if you are enrolled in a certain degree, do not forget that. Mention that as well. Mention relevant modules. You might like to mention top marks. Maybe suppose you have done your master's, you would provide not only the name of the degree, like masters in communication or masters in arts or masters in physics whatsoever, but you have to provide from which university you have done that, and you are also supposed to provide how, if your grades are good, do provide them, do make them part of your CV. In case your grades are not so good, you are supposed not to mention them. Okay, then you do not have to put your grades, same thing is discussed here, on if you weren't happy with them. If your grades were not good, do not put them on your CV. Include the years of study. You have to provide in which year you did that degree. Means you might have done your BS or MS in 2020. Maybe 2 years before you had done your BS. So you should provide that year and the name of the degree, name of the university. So years are supposed to be there. Primary school education is not required. Here in Pakistan, we mostly go up to matric level, matriculation. We provide the name and grades in the board from which you have passed. So masters, bachelors, intermediate, and matriculation. These are the basic degrees. Apart from them, if you have any technical courses, if you have done any diplomas, maybe in IT, or maybe in languages, you can provide them. This is an example kind of thing, how you should present your academic and educational qualifications, like 2011 to present. Someone in University of Kent, BA Honors Fine Arts. Modules include contextual studies, creative investigations, project, if you have done any project, communication and critique. Before that, he or she must have done something from 2009 to 2011, maybe Maidstone Grammar School, A levels, media studies, A, art, B. This A, B, C, I think these are the grades that this person has taken. And then before that, from 2005 to 2009, Wortham School, where he has done his GCSEs, 8 GCSEs, including English and maths whatsoever. So these are, this is a kind of example how you can present your academic qualifications. Then we'll move on. Work experience, how you present your work experience. There is no need to list every job you have ever had. Detail the most relevant. Yes, as we discussed in the beginning, that you have to design your CV according to the requirements of the job. So if you have done anything that is relevant to be mentioned for that job, do include that. But if something is irrelevant, that has nothing to do with the upcoming position, do not mention it. Don't just list your duties, sell your skills. It is not necessary just you keep on making a list of what you have done. We have less than a minute, so this meeting would end automatically. As soon as it ends, I will restart, so you would be able to join it again. You would be required to join it again. So I'm explaining it. Don't just list your duties, sell your skills. You know yourselves better than others. You know what skills you have got. You know what things you can perform better. So you have to present those skills so that you may get a chance for a personal interview. Which skills are relevant to the position or company you are applying to? It is you who have to decide what skills are supposed to be presented in the CV and what are not supposed to be. Then dates, name of company, position, and skills.